planet?
Yeah, that's what David thought. And like I said, it's the only thing that makes any sense, because every other animal is dying and all the Sasquatch are alive, well and thriving. David thought maybe the meteor is some kind of energy source that empowers them in some way. But again, it's only a theory.
An energy source, huh? Well, I've always had a theory in the back of my mind that they were from another planet, but I never dreamed that a rock from their world would ever land here. It almost sounds like the total opposite of the old Superman story. In that case, anytime Superman encountered kryptonite, it weakened him. But in this case, a meteor from their home planet seems to be killing everything else but them.
Yeah, even the forest it landed in is dying. It's so bizarre. And the worst thing is, nobody knows how to stop it from happening. I mean, sure, it's doing wonders for the Sasquatch, but it's killing everything and everyone within a 3-mile radius. Not to mention the effect it's had on the area that was directly under the flight path. Whatever this thing is was spewing out poison from a high altitude all the way down to the ground. People who live under that flight path said the grass is dead. People's gardens are drying up, and all the water in the world isn't helping. Even the pets are sick or dying. Whatever landmass this thing flew over on its way down to the ground has suffered the same result as the forest it landed in.
Well, it certainly has me puzzled. Hey, what about David? You said you know what caused his plane crash. What about that?
Oh, well, that's the most bizarre story of all. It happened 10 days after the meteor landed. David had a trip to make, and since it was quite a ways away, he decided to fly instead of drive. He took off from the airport, but unlike the pilot who was flying my plane, David didn't fly around the edge of the forest. He flew right down in the middle of it, straight over the top of the meteor.
So what caused the crash?
Well, that depends on who you ask. The official cause was listed as a pilot error, but I know the real reason, and so do all the lab rats who worked with him. Jonathan. David was murdered.
Murdered? But how?
A few hours after the crash, they got a phone call at the lab from a man named Steve Nelson. He said he had all kinds of inside information on David, and he seemed to know about the crash before anyone else did. We found out later that he's actually an undercover agent disguised as a crash investigator.
Pretty clever.
Yeah, he's one of these types who seems to be 2 steps ahead of everyone else. He has ways of monitoring certain people at certain times, hidden cameras, hidden microphones, tracking devices, that sort of thing. He's like a character right out of one of those spy movies.
So what did he discover about the crash?
Well, he managed to get to the plane before anyone else, and the first thing he did was check out the computer program in the cockpit.
That's kind of an odd first place to look for evidence.
Under most circumstances, you'd be right about that. But in this case, he had a bit of inside information. You see, Steve had been monitoring David for so long, he knew his habits, his hobbies, his personality, well, his everything. He knew that he wasn't the careless type. He knew that David wouldn't just fly straight over the meteor like that. Knowing it had the capacity to kill him, David was much more careful than that. So, if David flew straight down the middle of the forest over the top of the meteor, there must have been something very, very wrong.
This is getting more and more intriguing by the second.
So, when Steve checked the computer program, he had discovered that it had been reprogrammed to override the manual controls. All the manual controls were locked. So when David tries to steer around the edge of the forest, the computer program overruled, and it kept him flying straight over the top of the meteor.
Oh my God.
When the investigation team arrived to check it all out, they developed their own theories and ideas. And by the time it was all said and done, they pinned the blame on David by calling it pilot error.
Well, does that mean the investigators were in cahoots with whoever programmed the computer?
Oh, most definitely. I'm sure of it. Jonathan, there are people there who are so opposed to the truth of the existence of Sasquatch, they would actually kill to prevent that truth from being known by the general public.
One of them wouldn't happen to be named Blackstone, would they?
No, not that I know of.
Sounds exactly the same as him. Well, I guess there are those types of people all over the world. So they called it pilot error, huh? Is there any chance of ever exposing them and getting the truth out there?
Hardly. They put an information ban on the whole thing, and the public only knows what they want them to know.
Sounds like the old-style Soviet Union from decades ago.
Yeah, pretty much.
Well, hey, how would you like to help us out in a little search and destroy mission tomorrow morning?
Sure. What do you have in mind?
Well, there's a company called Cryptid Captures that was offering $50 million to anyone who could bag a Bigfoot. Hunters and trappers from all over the country were heading out into the woods to try to haul one in.
Yeah, like that's gonna happen.
Well, the whole thing was exposed as a phony and the leader was arrested.
Well, that's good to hear.
Yeah, but now there's a truckload of traps of all kinds out there that need to be done away with. A group of us are heading out at 7 o'clock tomorrow morning to try to find as many traps as we can. Jerry got caught up in one earlier today, so it sort of gave us a little bit of pause, and we realized we needed to do something about it. Oh, and also, an old friend of ours is back again. You remember Yellow Bear, our Native American friend who translated the journal for us.
Oh, really? He's back?
Yep. He's not here at the moment, but he'll be coming and going as the need arises. He actually showed up today to rescue Jerry out of that trap he was in. He got caught up in one of those nets that trigger when you step in it.
Oh, I would have loved to have seen that.
But anyway, when we head out there tomorrow, we could really use your expertise as a trained observer. You might be able to spot some traps that the rest of us could never see.
Mate, say no more, Jonathan. I'd love to help.
Good morning, everybody. I see you're all well prepared for the day ahead. Jerry, AnnaBelle, Captain Willis, Ron, Darrell. Thank you to all of you for being here and your willingness to help. Now, I don't need to explain why we're all here and what this is all about. You've all heard and you all know what's going on. The only thing I want to do now is set you all up in teams. Since there's 7 of us, that means 2 teams of 2 and 1 team of 3. I think you're miscounting just a little.
Yeah, Jerry's right, Professor. I think you might want to recalculate your total again. You're off by 1.
I am. Let me count again here. Jerry's 1, AnnaBelle's 2, Captain's 3, Ron is 4, Darrell's 5, and I make 6. Well, I'll be. I could have sworn there were 7 of us. In fact, I know there were. I just don't understand. I know I didn't dream it. I set up a group of 7 of us, and 7 is what there ought to be. Boy, if there's one thing I can't stand, it's people who say they're gonna show up and then they don't. That kind of thing just frosts my cookies. Some people just don't have any respect at all for other people's time. I can't be standing around here all day waiting for one person to show up. Jonathan G. Daltin waits for no man. And if our 7th person doesn't show up in the next 5 seconds, I'm gonna...
Oi! What's with all the bloody noise? Can't a guy get any decent sleep around here? What's the big idea?
What in the world?
Jonathan, is that you screaming like a bloody drill sergeant? What's going on here anyway?
Wait a minute. Is that Charlie? What in the name of blazing buffalo brains is going on around here?
That was fun. I got Gotcha, Jerry. I got you and AnnaBelle and Darrell. I got all of you.
You gotta be kidding.
That was beautiful, Charlie. Just beautiful. Perfectly done.
Oh, well played, Jonathan, well played. That was beautiful.
That was wonderful. Just like we planned it.
Just like you planned it.
We set all this up last night. Charlie surprised me by showing up on my doorstep about 7:30. So we thought we'd try it out on all of you this morning. And from the looks of y'all's reaction, I'd say it was highly successful.
Boy, I'll say.
Oh, boy. Charlie's going to be part of our search and destroy mission today. I figured with him being a trained observer,
Yeah, I get it.
he might just be able to spot some of those hidden traps like the one you got caught up in, Jerry.
Yeah, don't remind me. I'm trying to forget it ever happened.
So, Jerry, old buddy, Jonathan tells me you've got a girlfriend. This wouldn't happen to be her, would it?
It sure is.
Wow, you really hit the jackpot with her, didn't you? She's a real looker. What beauty pageant did you steal her from?
Charlie, this is AnnaBelle Adams. Honey, this is Charlie Holmes.
Oh, the pleasure is all mine, Miss AnnaBelle.
Well, thank you.
AnnaBelle grew up with the Sasquatch in Ohio. She got to know them in a way that very few ever do.
Hey, one day soon I have to tell you all about what's been happening in my country. There's been some pretty wild stuff going on involving the Sasquatch.
Okay, everybody. Now that our surprise guest has been revealed, it's time to team up. Team 1 is Ron Blackstone and Captain Willis. Team 2 is me and Darrell. And Team 3 is Jerry, AnnaBelle, and Charlie here.
Oh, sure. Stick the young love-struck couple with a chaperone, why don't you? What's the matter, Dad? Don't you trust us?
Well, after what happened to you yesterday, you need all the extra help you can get.
Oh.
All right, y'all know the mission. Find, deactivate, and remove as many traps as you can over the next 5 hours. I was going to have us go longer, but there's some pretty nasty weather coming up in the forecast for later this afternoon, including possible lightning. And as you all know, the wilderness is the last place you want to be during a thunder and lightning storm. So we're going to call this one off about noon and meet back here by 12:30. Okay, y'all have everything you need, so let's head out. Well, this has been quite a productive day.
Productive isn't exactly the word that pops to mind for me. That's the second time I've fallen in the water. I think I'm losing my touch.
Well, at least this time it was slow moving and only a foot deep.
Slow moving, fast moving, 1 foot or 10. In either case, it still leaves me feeling like a drowned rat. I was hoping the sun would come out and dry me out a little bit, but no such luck.
Yeah, it's getting just a bit nippy out there. With the way the wind is picking up, I think we're in for some rain, too. Weather forecast is calling for heavy rain from tonight all the way through to next week. That creek you fell into might be a foot deep right now, but with the amount of rain we're about to get, it's going to turn into a raging torrent.
And not only that, but from the sound of all that rumbling out there, we're in for a pretty hefty thunderstorm, too.
Very true. It's a good thing we went out when we did. That rain could come at any time, and if it's the kind of downpour I think it's going to be, I may need a boat to get back and forth to work.
Why don't we call it a day and get out of here while the getting's good?
Fine by me.
You don't have to tell me twice.
Raindrops are falling on my head, and just like the guy whose feet are too big for his bed, nothing seems to fit. Those raindrops are falling on my head, they keep falling. So I just did me some talking to the sun, and I said I didn't like the way
Ah, that was delicious. Your cooking is superb.
Why, thank you, honey. I'm glad you liked it. I just love to cook. My mom taught me. In fact, those potatoes you had, straight from her recipe book.
Well, next time you talk with her, tell her I'm a big fan, okay?
I'll be sure to do that.
You know, I still can't believe I got caught in that trap yesterday. In a way, I'm really glad no one else was there except for Yellow Bear. That would have been really embarrassing.
It's alright. You didn't know it was there. Everybody has stupid stuff happen to them now and then. One day I stepped in a hole that I knew was there for a year, and I had even avoided it for a long time. And then one day I was goofing around, just having fun, and boom! I stepped in the stupid hole and twisted my ankle. So don't feel so bad.
Thanks. That helps a lot. Hey, what would you think about going for an after-dinner walk?
But it's raining.
Well, it isn't raining that hard. At least, not yet. It always rains harder at the lab first and eventually reaches here, but it could take a half an hour to get here.
Well, I don't know if we...
Ah, come on. What's a little rain? It's not like you're made out of sugar. You won't melt. Come on. What do you say?
Oh, why not?
Cool. Let's go. I love the scent of fresh rain in the air. It smells so good. I don't know what it is about it, but it just makes me want to stand here and breathe it all in. If I breathe in enough of it, I could become Rain Man.
You silly man.
So what gets your attention? What kind of scent do you like?
For me, it's the smell of pine. I just love it. I even have one of those pine-scented air fresheners in my car. But there's nothing like the real thing.
Yeah, I could just see you out there with your nose up against a pine tree just sniffing away. Ooh, that smells good.
Yep, that would be me, all right. You've heard of those people who hug trees? Well, I sniff them.
You sound like you should be at one of those meetings, you know, like Tree Sniffers Anonymous. Hi, I'm AnnaBelle, and I'm a pineaholic.
Oh my god, that is so funny. How do you even think these things up anyway?
I don't know. I have no clue. It just comes naturally to me. At least most of the time.
I swear your humor is the best I have ever heard. You could have been a comedian.
Well, when I was in school, I was voted most likely to become one.
Well, it's no wonder. You are great at it. Oh my god, that almost brought tears to my eyes.
Hey, cool, extra points. Making somebody laugh earns you 5 points. Making them laugh until they cry earns you 10. Hey, I was wondering, do you think the Sasquatch ever fall in love? I mean, do you think the male and female actually have those kinds of feelings for each other, or...?
I believe they do. I've seen them show lots of emotion, from one end of the scale to the other. In fact, one time, I was standing behind a tree and watching this male and female. They were both sitting on a fallen log. I could hear them talking to each other. I was about 50 yards away, but I had my binoculars so I could see them really close up. And you should have seen their body language and their eyes. Oh my god, it was so incredible. At one point, the female leaned over and put her head on the male's shoulder, and the male reached over and took her hand in his.
Really? Wow. Oh, I wish I could have been there to see that. That is awesome.
And just before you came to Ohio, I was out looking around at some of the fire damage, and... oh my god, this is gonna make me tear up. I saw one of them kneeling in the ashes over the body of a dead one. And I swear on my grandfather's grave, I heard them crying. So yes, they do have love for each other. And yes, I really believe they can and do fall in love.
That is just amazing. You've had such incredible first-hand experiences with so many of them. What about humor? Have you ever heard one of them laughing?
Definitely. They pull pranks on each other, and when it's all over, they laugh the same way we do. I don't mean they sound like us, but they laugh in the same kind of style as we do.
I swear they are related to us somehow. They have to be. I mean, how could we be so much like them and not be related?
I wouldn't doubt it. It's very possible. The fact that we not only look like them, but we are less advanced than they are, tells me that we are their descendants.
In other words, something got lost in the evolutionary process.
Exactly. Unlike what most people think, the evolutionary process typically leads to decay and loss.
Yeah, I get it. It's something Dad taught me a while back. If the evolutionary process is supposed to make each generation better and smarter, then how come the Sasquatch can do things that we can't do? So to evolve from someone doesn't necessarily mean you become better than the one before you. But there are just too many likenesses, both physically and emotionally, for there not to be some kind of connection. Hey, here comes the rain.
No, we're gonna get soaked.
Ah, so what? Here, take my hand. You ready?
Ready for what?
My dear, life is not about waiting for the storm to pass. It's about learning to dance in the rain. Come on, what do you say we go sniff some pine trees?
You know, there's nothing like a nice relaxing morning on the golf course. Fresh air, sunshine, driver in my hand, not a care in the world. Oh, lovely, right past the hole and right into the sand trap on the edge of the tree line. It's gonna take at least 2 more shots to get into the hole. Good thing I'm not playing for money. Okay, let's see. I'm about 50 yards from the hole. Let's see how close I can get here. This should be pretty simple. But again, you just never know